there's a problem.
Yeah.
You're coming into things with difficulty ahead of you.
Right.
There's hard work that has to come. You've got to come in there and develop something.
Yeah.
Someone that's watching this that couldn't even comprehend that yet, but they have interest in landing feet on the ground where you are today. It's all the success. What advice do you give them based on what you did? Like, what was your process for going to that situation as the underdog and then overcoming it? What does that look like?
So I can tell you the biggest weight I put on myself was, one, I thought it was great that I got the opportunity. I didn't care. I didn't care if you threw me the worst district or whatever it was. And I never looked at any of them like, you guys are the worst in these 11 market areas. I just looked at it like I was sitting on the bench saying, put me in, coach, put me in. I was always eager to like get into get on the field. I knew if you could get on the field and I could get the ball in my hand, I was going to make some plays. And so, of course, the beginning of that, I internalized. I've always been really good, I think, at like putting myself in other people's shoes. And while I never made like the gender thing a thing, I was very aware that like, okay, I'm going to manage 125 people, mainly men. What did they think about getting the girl district manager? Is that like a super bummer that I've been now appointed as the girl manager? And so I went home, and I had to give a presentation to all of them. And I guess this would be the first time they would see me in action as a leader at the helm. And I can tell you, I saw 4 a.m. come awake as I built this PowerPoint and this lecture. And I looked at the reports and I thought, what do you say to a group of people who I knew you fundamentally needed to share the numbers, and they looked horrible on this report. So I'm like, I guess a lot of leaders would get up and say, I don't know, like you look horrible on this report. My message was one of hope. I felt like that was where I wanted their vision to go to. And I got up and I said, everything that's happened before this point does not matter to me. What happens today forward is what matters to me. There are symptoms to what I see, but I don't want to diagnose you unless you tell me what's wrong. My competitor, which I'll warn you all ahead of time, I am one, which means you are all competitors now because we're all together. We're a team. I'm going to push you into an uncomfortable place because we need to pick up the pace that we're at. And let me tell you why you should be winners. You are playing in the New England market, which is the second highest average loan balance in the country. You are stepping up to a plate with a wiffle ball bat and missing. So I'm going to say it to you straight. You have advantages, you have wins in your sales, but we are not pulling those sales straight up. So let's talk about that. In the next 90 days, I will not throttle the engine of this car because I'm afraid I might break it and I don't know what I don't know. So that means we're going to sit down and each one of you are going to come to me and you're going to tell me what you believe. And I set the stage for these meetings too, because I said, when you come to me, please be as pointed as you can, professionally as you can, in what is wrong where you're working. What is wrong? What is broken in the area your desk, with the things hitting your desk? I want to know. I don't want to know about what this girl is doing or what that guy is doing or how this manager is bad, or I don't want the garbage. I don't want the gossip. I want to know, why can't you race the car you're sitting in right now? Because I need every single one of you doing that. And so that's what these meetings are going to be about. We're going to do this for 90 days. And at the end, I will come back and report to you what I find. And I will be as transparent as I am standing here right now. And that's what I did. I spent 90 days. And when I was done, what I discovered is that there were 3 trends. It was communication, it was morale, and it was lack of a plan. They had no direction. They had no anchor, and they didn't have a vision of future. So they lacked hope and they lacked structure, but they lacked the inspiration. They felt defeated. They knew they were in last place, and the previous manager to them was not encouraging them or inspiring them, and there was no communication. So I thought, well, this is going to be really easy. And so from that point forward, we met once a month as a group. Of course, we had subset meetings as teams amongst managers, and then they had their meetings with the people. We coined the plan Moving On Up. We labeled the plan, the new business plan. Yes, there was a new plan called Moving On Up. And there were pins, and we created a little skyline in Boston, and I handed the pins out, I think, in meeting number 4, the 4th month. And I said, I'd like you to wear the pin, and I'd like it to be a reminder of that each day, wherever we are, will be the last day we're in that spot. Don't worry about becoming number one. Let's be better than we were the day before. Whatever it is that we got to do more of today than what we did yesterday, let's do that. And so each month I would go in and I would report their numbers, and we became number one in the company in 16 months.
In the entire company?
Yes. And I can tell you that during that time, around 6 or 7 months, when we had made it to like the average spot, nobody had guessed we would go there. So I already had a lot of fanfare. The team had a lot of fanfare, and there was a lot of like, wow, that's incredible. Where it gets hard in that storyline is it's easy to be average. It's so cliche. It's so easy to be average because just by the percentages, getting to average basically means doing things good. But to do something great, to beat the guys that have the momentum or are at the number one spot, the work it took, it was almost as if we were so exhausted when we got to like that 9-10 month mark that they didn't think they had much more in their engines. And that is when the speeches start to change, because that is where you really are in the locker room and everybody's sweating and people are tired and there's injuries and there's this or that, all these cliche type sports analogies that I use. And that is when I said, you have a shot. I would not have called this 6 months ago. I thought you could do great. But the finish line, you guys have a shot. I need this much more out of you, and I need a commitment from this group, because collectively, the power I see, we have what it takes to take the first place. And if you want it, who's going to step up? We're going to make history. We've got everybody's attention. We had the CEO's attention. We were getting video messages. We had other teams that were conceding and sending us messages. Yes. And Option One, because Option One, who was run by Bob Dubrish and Steve Naden, the COOs, were our brother company to H&R Block, owned them to us. And they were sending us messages like we were like the little Rudy, team that was coming. And so there was a lot of fanfare there. And then when I finally got there and we got to that and we won and we got number one and then we kept it there the next 3 years, that year I was promoted to the head of retail sales.
Of retail for the entire
company.